I'm very honored to be able to speak today on this somber but hopeful occasion. Formal recognition of the genocide by the entirety of the international community is the minimal first step in ending it, bringing justice to the Yazidi people, and ensuring that it doesn't happen again. So on behalf of the people that I represent, I begin my remarks by recognizing what happened 6 years ago, and given the number of Yazidis that are still unaccounted for is ongoing, that is genocide against the Yazidi people. And we stand with you in solidarity. This means strongly supporting the calls made by Yazda and other organizations to bring justice to the Yazidis, to end the genocide, and to rebuild. ISIS members who committed crimes against Yazidis, Christians, and other religious minorities in Iraq, including genocide and crimes against humanity and crimes of sexual violence, must be brought to justice. And frankly, I cannot believe that today, 6 years after clear evidence of genocide, that there has not been more justice brought to the Yazidi people. While we commemorate the beginning of the genocide, the international community must collectively hang its head in the shame that is wrought in the heel dragging of prosecuting and punishing all those complicit in the genocide, be it those who raped, those who killed, those who spread propaganda, and those who stood silent while it happened in their full view but did nothing to stop it. That we are 6 years in and still fighting the inertia, bureaucracy, and politics of seeing justice through is a stain that rests on all humanity. No Yazidi should have to wait through another year, another set of commemorations, while politicians, diplomats, and lawyers give platitudes and speeches while the perpetrators of these crimes walk free. The international community must have an action plan with finite timelines to achieve this goal. If the global multilateral organizations that are designed to help facilitate this continue to be impotent in their ability to do so, then they must be reformed because they are not serving their purpose. Justice for Yazidis should be a key focus of every UN member country and for the entire UN bureaucracy. Carefully crafted speeches and niceties said over cocktails will not bring closure to the Yazidi community. Those world leaders who allow political posturing, fear of offending an ally, a trading partner, or a theocratic regime with similar religious sympathies to get in the way of justice are no better from a moral perspective than the genocidaires themselves. This is a matter of political will and moral courage. In this matter, I encourage all world leaders to find theirs. For while the world continues to allow this inertia to continue, those complicit in this genocide remain unpunished, and those who have experienced it have no closure. Peaceful coexistence will never occur until justice has been meted, and this is wrong. It is an abdication of our responsibility to humanity, and it must immediately be changed. 6 years is too long. 1 day was too long. However, the topic of today's keynote address are centering specifically around the theme of women and justice, pillars of post-conflict reconstruction and peace. And many words in history have been spoken about the process of genocide itself, that is, the progression between classification, symbolization, discrimination, dehumanization, organization, polarization, persecution, extermination, and denial. But less has been said or formalized to understand, acknowledge, prevent, and bring healing and justice to the specific act of genocide that involves the use of bodies of women as a specific genocidal act. To be very clear, every Yazidi, regardless of gender, has experienced genocide because of the sadistic and criminal actions of Daesh. However, the use of women and their bodies as tools of war and of genocide is a crime that the world has yet to sufficiently address and acknowledge within our criminal justice systems, corporate, political, and religious structures, and within societal norms themselves. The reality is that there will be no lasting post-conflict resolution until this happens. Until changes are made, there will be no justice for women whose bodies have been used to perpetrate genocide. And unless the global community, every country, every person, every culture, and every religion make these changes, these crimes will continue. They will happen to our daughters and to theirs and onwards through history until we decide to make permanent changes. This is because the beginning of the act of using women to perpetrate genocide currently finds fertile ground in every culture and every country on earth. There is no culture or country that is immune. And to ensure that what has and is happening to Yazidi women never happens again, we all must look inwardly and demand change. Support for religious doctrine that places women below men in worth in any way, or requires codes of conduct that do not apply to men in order to subjugate women in the name of God, normalize the dehumanization of women. Support for cultural norms that subtly equate a woman's worth with her sexual palatability normalizes the dehumanization of women. Support for economic structure that place less value on the labor of women normalize the dehumanization of women. Removal of access for universal education about the right of a woman's sovereignty over her body, and her right in every situation to give or remove consent to sexual acts normalize the dehumanization of women. Power structures that don't believe women who are victims of sexual violence or prevent access to justice for them normalize the dehumanization of women. Lack of access for women to attain top leadership positions in their cultures and economies normalize the dehumanization of women. Making a woman's sexuality an object of fear or an assumption of the cause of rape normalizes the dehumanization of women. The assumption that women are less worthy, less capable, less fit, less smart, less stable, or less powerful than a man normalizes the dehumanization of women. Doing business with or having respect for regimes that use law, be it religious or otherwise, to remove the rights of women or place barriers to their equality normalizes the dehumanization of women. Being silent within our own circles of power cultivates cultures of misogyny, subtle or otherwise, that normalize the dehumanization of women. And for those who are listening and who may feel uncomfortable by that list, good. You should feel that way. That discomfort is a deep acknowledgement that what I have said is true, and that no culture or person on earth has been free from at least one or likely many more of those norms which have been pervasive throughout human history. It is your responsibility, our responsibility, to move beyond discomfort, to acknowledge that these problems are pervasive and exist rather than to explain or defend them, and to personally affect change within each of our spheres of influence. The greatest women I know, the most powerful, beautiful, and strong, are Yazidi women who have survived genocide but refuse to allow it to define them and have chosen to fight for their people. Every day in my role as a legislator, I am inspired by them and driven to stand behind their cause, because it is all of our cause. If we think that crimes against the Yazidi people are not crimes against us all, humanity will never move forward and genocide will occur again. We must be courageous in our support for them and compassionate in our love towards the Yazidi people. The international community must also honor the Yazidi people by making permanent changes that currently discriminate against victims of genocide. The Yazidi genocide exposed weaknesses in the UN and international community's processes for selecting and resettling victims of genocide that must be improved for their sake and the sake of many others. The inertia that I had to overcome in Canada in getting genocide acknowledged, or a program in place to resettle Yazidi genocide survivors, shows that no country is immune from politics and pedantry when it comes to doing what is right. The genocide showed that we have to develop international systems to provide immediate and long-term support to women whose bodies have been used as tools of war. And the Yazidi genocide showed that never again happened again and will happen again in the future if we don't take a more difficult but worthy permanent corrective action within the collective of humanity. So while today we honor the work of many who have fought for justice for the Yazidis and the Yazidi people themselves, while we celebrate what is overcome, we must not lose sight of these truths and continue to fight for them, which I commit to doing so today.